Hello, welcome to another tutorial video. So now we're going to be looking at the reading paper, the reading section of the language paper. We'll be looking at the assessment objectives, and the assessment objectives basically means what you're being assessed, what you're aiming for in terms of getting marks. So what you need for marks, basically. Every year after the exams, a mark scheme is sent to the examiners and they have to use it to try and ascertain what grade you should get. Now, the basic principles behind them are what the assessment objectives are, and then it changes every year based on exactly what the parameter of the question is and exactly what the question contains in terms of the text. So breaking it down then is going to start from the assessment objectives, because that's what they base everything else on. The questions are actually derived and made up to satisfy these requirements. So in essence, all of your English in the exam comes down to these two paragraphs here. So it's really important that you know what kind of skills could be called on, and then any question that does ask you to demonstrate your skills from this you'll be able to do if you actually understand what it is you have to do, and that's what we're going to look at now. So the very first objective then assessment objective is to read and understand texts, select material as appropriate to purpose, collating from different sources and making comparisons and cross references as appropriate. So we'll go through each bit in its own right, but the basic meaning of the whole thing is you have to have the ability to read, and that doesn't just mean read the text. It means read the punctuation, and also it doesn't mean just read the letters and words. It means read the punctuation, what it means, and also read pictures and understand what they're referring to as well. You have to be able to pick things out, the most appropriate things, and you need to be able to compare different items at different times. So we'll look into this bit. What I've done here in blue is I've actually just kind of paraphrased it into something that is hopefully a little easier to digest. So you have to be able to read and understand text, so that makes sense of all the symbols. So the letters and the numbers and the punctuation all have to be understood, and as do the pictures. So you have to be able to say what they mean and entail, etc., or denote, whatever you want to take from that, and they have to be in the right sequence. So obviously the structure of how something is put is a lot more important. So for example, that a full stop after doctor is different than the abbreviation of the DR for doctor is different than the use of a full stop at the end of a sentence, for example. And then a list of 3 full stops in a row in a story might be denoting suspense, or obviously trailed off or missing words, whereas for a dramatic purpose or in a quotation, then it's showing you that there are just some words missing. So you understand what things mean at the right time. Selecting material appropriate to purpose. Basically, this means you pick out what you need to answer the question. And if you look over the examiner's reports time and time again, there's always seems to be a question where it says that some students didn't pick up on this properly, some students didn't fully answer this. And for example, there are many a time when there's an extract which has 2 sides of an argument with it, but then the students will seem to read the whole extract but then only talk about one side of the argument, not wanting to discuss the other side, and that's not answering the question, because the question will be asking you for both sides 9 times out of 10, especially in the first question when you're just supposed to be picking out the information. The third thing you need to be able to do is you need to collate information from different sources. So you have to be able to pick out things from different sources, extracts, and combine them. So if you are going to be talking about humour, for example, across 2 extracts, you want to be able to pick out examples. Or if you're going to be talking about the use of similes from 2 extracts, then you'll be able to pick out both examples and use them in one paragraph. It's also worth noting again to refer to the Chief Examiner's reports that they said that there was almost a formulaic, there was a formulaic response of talking about one, then talking about the other in essay writing, rather than trying to deal with it on a quotation by quotation basis, where you talk about poem A, poem B, poem A, poem B, for example, or text A, text B, text A, text B in one paragraph. It seems like there's a very clear differentiation of everything people know about A in one, and then everything people know about B in the other. And the examiner said that wasn't as a higher skill of collating the evidence as they would expect from higher level candidates. So that's worth bearing in mind. You have to be able to make comparisons. So as well as being able to bring the items out and show that they're relevant, you have to be able to say how they are used in a similar and or different way. And you also need to be able to cross-reference. That means go back to things that you have mentioned before if they are coming up in a different light or if they are more relevant to another question. So for example, if you're mentioning a word, if you're mentioning a word and with one train of thought it seems to indicate what has one meaning, then in another frame of mind it might have another. And in the example we're going to look at from the June 2011 paper, there's a good example of this on extract number 2. So if you are going to go through this whole series with us, then look out for that. So that's bit by bit, and obviously I'm going to put this up on Facebook for you so you can download it and have a look at it. It won't be color coded unfortunately on Facebook, but I'm sure you will get over that. So a detailed explanation all in all then, or the skills that you need is you need to make sense of everything that's on the page in its sequence. You need to pick out what you need to answer the question from various sources, and you need to combine them for use. And you need to show how items are used in a similar or different ways. And I've highlighted items there because the items could be referring to pictures, or it could be referring to punctuation or words or literary techniques, whatever the question is obviously asking you to do, depending on what focus is. And pick the right time and item to bring it up. So if you remember this red section here, that's the general skill you need, okay? Now, whether you think that the red part is actually slightly easy to understand than the black part up there, it's just a little more detailed. So hopefully it's using all the things or the words that you're more familiar with rather than the cross-references and material appropriate to purpose. So that basically, again, is just summed up in there. And I would pay close attention to that just to make sure that you can hit that assessment objective very well. Like I say, if you have those skills, or if you're able to understand those 5 elements, then you're going to go a long way to doing well, a long way towards doing well in the exam. And obviously I'm going to be showing you them, referencing them when we do the model answers.